Are you listening? If you are lucky, 5 minutes. Most of the time, many lecturers are in a haste to get to your floor plan. So, so it's your first presentation. I think you tried for the first time ever to present your work. I think you tried. You spent quite a lot of time explaining what you learned from your research, which is good. I'm okay with it. You should be able to explain what you learned from your research. But I'm just going to point out areas in your presentation you need to work on. Okay. Let me start with the most basic thing. When you are presenting, you should face the jurors. You should stand this way. You have your drawings at an angle, and then you have the jurors at your direct view. The main reason is that you want to always assess the way they are looking at the work and how they are valuing what you are saying. If the jurors feels like you are wasting their time, you are going to notice it, and you may want to move forward. If you face this way and you are holding your pointer this way, you may not even be aware of what is happening behind you. And that's one. Then secondly, so you may have to go to somewhere in the middle of your work and then turn this way to continue, because you can't keep doing this. You know, I can't keep doing this at this point, right? I'm going to be standing directly in front of my work. So at some point, you might need to turn and do this. That's one. Secondly, once you start your work, there are 3 things you want to just talk about. Your name, the title of the project, and the scope of the project. You took a long time before you got to the scope of the project. The scope of the project is the required spaces. I hope you are following. Most times they may ask you to skip it if you are like the 10th person presenting. The scope of the project is the required spaces. We have been asked to design a 4-bedroom bungalow for a family of 6. The required spaces are this, and this. You may not necessarily have to talk about types of bungalows so much, except it's something that wasn't given in the brief. But in the brief, it's already detached bungalow we are doing, so we don't need to talk about that. And this research you've done, excellently done. I think you were really detailed. In presenting some of them, you spent so much time, but it's also good. Now, when you say standard size of a space, we don't really say standard size of a space. We say standard size of a space for 2 people, for 1 person, for 4 persons. I hope you are following, because the space is always varies, so we just need to put it in context. You missed this. This is what we call turning radius, the inner turning radius and the outer turning radius. But it's okay, you just forgot it while you're presenting. So I think all these sections of your work looks very good. Now, when we got to this point, we started to miss some of the basic things. Lots of students do this, but in reality, this is not how the sun part flow goes in Nigeria. This is how the sun part goes maybe in the northern hemisphere, like in UK and in Europe. You will never hear overhead sun, because they have 12 o'clock kickoff matches in Premier League. When you watch that 12 o'clock kickoff match, you still see shadow half of the field, right? In Nigeria, if we have 12 o'clock kickoff match, the sun is where? It's overhead. So actually, this is how our sun part is, somehow. If I'm standing in this class and I'm recording the sun part, the sun is going to pass overhead sometime during the day. The sun will be hitting me directly on my head because we are closer to the equator. But it's okay, this is the sketch. I'm just trying to correct that impression, so that you are aware that it's not like if you put it here, that means the northern side there will be no sun. This is okay. Where you started to get things wrong was in your case studies. And once you start to get things wrong in your case studies, there is no magic you would work that will lead you to a good design. So I'll give you an example. If you look at our case studies, you discover that our bedrooms are kind of awkward. The bedrooms are rectangular. Look at this particular bedroom, it's rectangular. We don't even know the graphic representation of a window and a door, because she put both the window and the door on the same graphic representation. The toilet is the same size as the master bedroom. Can you see that? And the corridors or the lobby is very tiny. This bedroom 3 is also so very rectangular. Now, the building does not have an entrance porch. It has 2 doors and a window on the door. The kitchen is open to the dining. And everybody can agree with me that if you are cooking Egusi soup, you cannot have an open kitchen. 2 of us. True. Like 70% of what we cook, we can have an open kitchen. But in our case study, the kitchen is open to the dining. the bedrooms and the toilet have a very big corridor in between. There is nothing to learn from this case study if you look at it truthfully. I hope you are following. The next case study, the same thing. The size of the WC and the master bedroom is so big that only the WC space has a big room and the bathroom has a big room, that you need to open a door from the toilet to open a door into the bathroom space. Now, if you do this kind of case study, you can learn a lot. The same thing here. There is a very massive passage, she called it a passage, between the living room and the kitchen. And you are supposed to, between the living room and the dining, you are supposed to pass through the massive passage to enter it. Look at the bedroom 4. I don't know if you can see it. It's almost the size of the bedroom. I hope you are following. Now, just because it's a case study doesn't mean you shouldn't draw it to scale. Doesn't mean you shouldn't learn from it. But if you sketch like this, there is no surprise in having a floor plan like this. The third case study and the fourth case study replicated the same thing. We had open floor plan designs here that led from living room to the kitchen, which does not really apply in our design. The master bedroom, where she put as a WC, looks like it's a wardrobe, and the bathroom is here. This particular bedroom doesn't have a toilet at all. These two bedrooms are sharing this toilet. I hope that this bedroom doesn't need to cross over to use this toilet. Then we have a study. Now, the same thing here also. The problem is with the case studies. The dining looks like a lobby. The living room is directly here. We are confused what the anteroom is doing here because it doesn't really lead from the entrance into the living room. There is a very big football field in the middle of this space. And then the kitchen is open to the football field. And so once they are finding anything in this house that has smoke, everybody here will die because they will choke to death. The smoke will come in here. We can see the bedroom. We can see this tiny bedroom here. It looks like a toilet. Can you see that? It's a bedroom 4. Now, once your case studies are this bad, I can only postulate 2 things. You copy the case studies from somebody, or you traced it from a sheet you picked on the ground. That's just the 2 things I can think of. Now, once you do this case study, do you know what these case studies will do to your brain? It will block your brain from all this research you have done. You will forget it. When you come here, you will join what your case study has trained you to do. And she missed a lot of processes between the case study down to the floor plan. But if you come to our floor plan, you will find out that, we have a rectangular master bedroom. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see it down here? Master bedroom looks like this lobby. So once the man wants to go to his bed, he will stand up, enter keke, move to his bed. When he wants to change his clothes there, he use a scooter down because it's a very long space. And okay, I hope this WC is working closet you want to write. It's WIC. When you do W/C, it becomes water closet. I hope you are following. So this room here is very tiny. Maid's room maid's room is bigger than the master's bedroom. The maid should be the owner of this house. The kitchen is also a very big space. And we have a football lobby that is dark from beginning to end. So she actually forgot everything about standard sizes of bedrooms because the case study is bad. And then you missed a lot of things. I'm happy somebody pasted what I wrote here. I said, after case study, I hope you are following. You do site analysis. After site analysis, you do zoning. Can you see this? After zoning, you do space area calculation. Then before you come into your site plan and floor plans. Can you see that? So we are missing, under zoning, we have bubble diagram and design metrics. Now, we are missing quite a few stuff between case studies and the floor plan. Last time I talked about bubble diagram, that it's supposed to be broken down into 3, actually. You analyze your functional flow chart. After your functional flow chart, you do zoning. This zoning is not what I'm talking about. I mean like the site zoning we talked about after the bubble diagram. After that, then we now do bubble diagram. After that, we now move to your floor plan. Concept development before your floor plan. So there is no way to let us know how you got this floor plan or the site plan. The floor plan just appeared out of nowhere immediately afterwards. Case studies that were not working. So this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. You're going to redo the case studies properly. Get good designs. If you see good designs, you will design good buildings. If you copy the case study of the guys before you, you can't do better than them. There is no way you will do better than them. And to source good case studies can be difficult, but it's part of your job to do it. And you keep doing it all your life if you are going to be an architect. So source good case studies that will inspire you. That's one. Secondly, you are not going to go back to do your zoning and bubble diagram. Properly, you do it. Make sure bubble diagram flows well. And have an understanding of the sizes. I broke down all the steps there in the bubble diagram. Have an understanding of the size of the spaces, even before you get to the floor plan. Because if you did, this plan won't be this rectangular. Because you know that there is a bed in the room. At the center of the room is supposed to be a bed. Around is supposed to be a table and a chair and a wardrobe, right? No, none of your research. Look at this. This is a wonderful arrangement of a bedroom. It's not rectangular. It's tending towards being like a square. It's not very long. All right. And I have a feeling you didn't use T-square to draw this. I just have a dim feeling. This is the T-square. Maybe the head is shaking. So site plan also comes before the floor plan. You design the site, have an idea of it before you move into this floor plan. That's where the site zoning comes into. All right. It's okay. You've done your first presentation. I've given you a good feedback. Thank you. Please stop recording. Just press that red button.